Minister Yao Safo was described as inappropriate. President Akufo-Addo's controversial endorsement of the executive chairman of the Jospin Group of Companies during the tour of one of his subsidiaries last month. The president's encouraging words for Joseph Sian Japong, whose companies are being investigated for alleged corruption by the state, according to the senior minister, could send the wrong signals. Speaking at the launch of the National Anti-Corruption and Transparency Week, the senior minister also called for calm as government continues to investigate past government appointees over their roles in various corruption-related issues, assuring all those found culpable will be brought to book. Joseph Akable has more.
Adopted by Parliament in 2014, the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan was to provide a blueprint to combat the menace. The week's celebration is to offer government, anti-corruption agencies, and civil society organizations an opportunity to assess the plan's implementation as well as decide what steps need to be taken. For Senior Minister Yao Safo, government remains committed in the fight against corruption. This, he said, was evident in the thorough investigations it was conducting on former government appointees.
We are certainly going to make people who have wronged this country through corruption suffer for their deeds.
Wow.
But we don't want to do this in a hurry. We must do thorough investigation. We shouldn't do things in such a way that we are after our political opponents. Far from it. We must do it in such a way that people who have wronged the system are identified through thorough, and the emphasis is thorough investigation and the answer for their crimes.
In response to a question about the president's endorsement of the Zoomlion founder, for which he has been criticized by a section of society, Mr. Safo agreed it could send the wrong signals.
If you are seen to be pampering or endorsing a known wrongdoer, that one is not right. But we must all be very sure that that condemnation is also accurate. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
If it's accurate, then so
fair enough.
Critics of the anti-corruption plan have indicated they've been unimpressed with the policy's implementation. Shraj boss Joseph Withal, however, disagrees. He believes it has improved the situation.
We had no strategy as a country to fight corruption. And that 3 years on, since 3 years ago, we now have a strategy with a vision, with people knowing what they collectively are to do separately. That is a long way. That is progress. And by the way, we used to always sit and say, what is government doing? What are the anti-corruption agencies doing? Now, the fight against corruption is not limited to only agencies. It's also about civil society, private sector. We can all do something in the fight against corruption. So 3 years on, when you look, even though we're yet to review progress somewhere in Saturday, I think, from my perspective, we have really began the fight against corruption in a more sustained and sustainable manner.
A dialogue on corruption will be held on Tuesday as part of the week celebration.
Well, even as we celebrate the Anti-Corruption Week, let's share with you some of the objectives of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, shall we? So it's, among other things, seeks to focus on causes, effects, and measures to control corruption. It outlines measures for strengthening key anti-corruption and law enforcement agencies, improving investigations and prosecution. Right, so staying with corruption or corruption issues, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice says it has concluded its investigations into conflict of interest allegations leveled against Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in the issuance of the controversial $2.25 billion bond. The Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, Yao Broja Jemfi, had petitioned TRAD to investigate the matter after the minority in Parliament accused the Finance Minister of selling the bond to, quote, family and friends, unquote. Deputy TRAD Commissioner Richard Kwesi tells Sure News the findings will be released before the end of the year.
One of the things that sometimes I know the public are impatient about this when cases come before investigation bodies. They want everything to be concluded within a few days. But certain type of investigation require a lot of time. We have had cases where we are finished within 2 or 3 days. We have had cases where it's taken us more than 2 years. And also depends on the complexities of the case. The bond case, we have virtually completed the case. So the public will be hearing from us very soon.
Which direction is it pointing to?
No, I don't discuss cases that we have not given out. We don't give conclusions until we have concluded and given out our report.
But does it look like some further action will be taken? I'm asking this because we are talking about anti-corruption week, and we all agree that such issues, when you bring them to finality and the findings are communicated, yes, it helps in terms of perception.
We'll communicate the findings and the recommendations. We'll communicate these ones to the public.
How soon can we expect that?
Definitely before the end of this year. We are virtually finished.
We are in December.
Yes, that's what before the end of this year, the report will come out. So have patience with us.
But how about the one about the Boss MD, this sale of contaminated food? That issue also came up topical. There was a petition sent to Shraj.
I think that is still under preliminary investigation. So when we are ready, when we have something concrete, I want to speak on it.
Are you not concerned that, it appears you take a lot of time to investigate such issues? Because, in terms of the justice system, the point people make is that the wheels of justice must be seen to be grinding. They said grind slowly, but it has to be fast in some of these cases.
When you yourself quoted it grinds slowly because you don't want to be unfair to anybody. You want to ensure that the person who is accused of having committed an offense is given a fair hearing. That is what we are doing. You will notice that anytime a Shraj has done an investigation and has come out with a decision, even when people are not, when it goes against certain people, they still respect the decision because we take our time to do a thorough job. We don't want to be, because you see, we are also a human rights institution. So even the person who's on the investigation has a right that we have to protect. So please, trust us, give us opportunity to do our work. I don't want to talk about challenges that we have. Now, those are things that will always be there. Some of them will be solved, some too will always, because as far as Ghana, we don't have enough money to run our own government machinery. Those challenges will always be there. But in spite of those challenges, we must deliver. Because we recognize that the challenges will be there, but we still have to find ways to deliver. So we will deliver as an institution.
On the bond issue, did you engage the parties involved as expected? Did they provide the evidence they were supposed to provide?
When it comes out, you will see the industry that went into it.
And you are sure it will be a report that people will look at it and have confidence that Shraj indeed was able to investigate a top government official as the finance minister?
As I said, some people may not understand how we do our business. But I believe that any time that we have given out a decision, even for those who do not agree with us, when they look at the report, they recognize that we have been fair.
In other news, police have commenced investigations into the alleged rape and assault of a 19-year-old household by her Lebanese boss at Airport Hills in Accra. The incident happened around 5 p.m. Saturday when the suspect, Haddad Rabi, allegedly directed the victim to the kitchen to prepare him coffee and then take her bath. An officer at the airport police, where the suspect had initially been sent to, is said to have attempted an amicable settlement of the matter by arranging financial compensation for the victim. The police have, however, denied this. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
I'm currently here at a police hospital where a DNA test is being conducted on both the suspect and then the victim. I'm here purposely also to meet the father of the victim. Can you narrate to us exactly what happened to your daughter?
I've met the father of the victim at a police hospital here in Accra. He looks very tired from the many rounds he had to do since his attention was drawn to the incident. He waits outside on one of the chairs here as a daughter goes through the medical test at the hospital. The victim's father alleges this latest incident is the fourth time her daughter was raped by her Lebanese boss.
Maybe 2 weeks ago, then my doctor has told me about the place he's working. The workplace from Lebanese man. The Lebanese man, they worry here. Make sex plus here, but you know I agree. After this week, Thursday, the man forced her to sleep with her. Second day is Saturday, last Saturday. Then the man forced her. They make him prepare coffee, give him. Then the girl prepared the coffee, give to him. He said, don't like the coffee. Say, you want make sex plus. My doctor said, no, go agree. Then he hold on by force. The girl too existed to go. Then he give him blow for her, then he slap him. Before he get the girl to make sex plus her.
The airport police were accused of not following the standard operating procedures for rape cases when the matter was first reported. But the airport divisional police commander Isaac Kwejo Asante has denied the allegation that police officers did not follow the right procedure at the airport police station. He says the first case that was reported there was assault. The issue of rape later came up at the East Legon police station.
That's an issue that we are investigating. Now, as I speak, I've invited the personnel at the airport and I'm interrogating them. But from what we heard from the victim and even the entries made at airport police station, the initial complaint was assault. The initial complaint was assault. That's what the first complaint he made at airport. The rape issue came here when he was referred to the doctor, and that was yesterday in the afternoon. So we've made a follow-up, and the white man has been arrested. We are investigating two cases. The first one that was lodged at airport police station, and the one that has been lodged here as a rape case against the Lebanese. Two cases, assault and a rape. And I was telling you the assault was first lodged at airport police station. But when the girl came here, he made another complaint of a rape.
Former Attorney General and Minister for Justice Marietta Briopon, who is lawyer for the victim, says she will ensure justice is served.
Definitely going to follow up on this to make sure that justice is done. We are fortunate to have caught this one early so that the investigation can be done properly. Very often by the time you become aware of a situation like this, time has elapsed, evidence is lost, and it becomes very difficult to follow up on it. That's why we are very keen on following up on this one to make sure that the proper investigation and proper prosecution is also done. Thank you. You're welcome.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still hiding the bulletin. 5 months after President Akufo-Addo cut sword in the central region for what is supposed to be the first of his administration's many factories to be built in districts, we're there to find out how far they've gone with the factory. And a Joy News crew on assignment in the northern region's Bandai district found itself having to use the office vehicle as an ambulance for a woman in labor, in a story that highlights the inadequacy of healthcare in many of Ghana's districts. We'll bring you the story of Adonker. Stay tuned. Now, 5 months after President Akufo-Addo cut sword in the central region for what is supposed to be the first of its administration's many factories to be built in districts across the country, there is not much to show for the factory. The NPP government had promised during the 2016 election campaign that it would build a factory in each of the country's districts under the One District, One Factory initiative. Though officials agree the first factory is yet to be built, they explain it is only because they want to avoid the Komenda epistle, where the town's sugar factory ran into difficulty shortly after commissioning because it could not secure its raw materials. Richard Kojonyako has more.
On August 22 this year, The President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, launched Government One District, One Factory project with a promise to drive industrialization across the country. At a ceremony here at Ekumfi Nanaben in the Central Region, the President cut the sword for the construction of the first factory under the program. The Ekumfi Fruits and Juices Limited is expected to be completed in 2018 with a promise of creating over 4,000 direct jobs and additionally employ some 5,000 outgrowers. But 5 months down the line, the vast land continues to stare residents in the face.
If you say the project has started, maybe you are talking of the block over block. And that, I tell you, we are just about taking off. There's no problem with lack of funds. If you are drawing money to put up such a project, I'm sure the first thing you should do is your sustainability, and that's why you work on your, especially on your raw material. Especially if you have a project that if you say I should put it down, within 6-7 months, I will put up a factory and fix the machines. Where would the pineapple be? So I would prefer to start with my outgrower scheme, get my supplies, and then along the line put in place the factory. The project will take, as I mentioned, certain the machines itself will take between not more than 8 months to 6-7 months. Let's give ourselves some time.
Frederick Kobnakwa is the manager of the Ekumfi Fruits and Juices Limited. He's been explaining why the land has nothing on it. He tells Joy News management of the factory has learned from the Commander Sugar Factory experience and is doing the needful.
For us, Commander has been a learning curve. If you are putting up a factory of this magnitude, you would want to, first of all, be sure of your raw material supply. So, for example, what we have done while we were waiting for the funds to be drawn down was to start our outgrower scheme. We are altogether putting together about 5,000 outgrowers who are going to grow 2.5 acres each. Okay. Pineapple, as we know, has a gestation period of between 12 and 14 months. Putting up a factory, of course, this one is it comes in a prefab. Getting the machinery, we have done all of that. We have done the contacts and all of that. But then all of these takes just about 6 months. Pineapple itself takes between 12 to 14, sometimes 16 months. So if we are not careful and we want to see block over block, what we are going to have is a factory with machines sitting down and then waiting for pineapples. So taking the lesson of Commander, we thought that we should start our outgrower scheme first.
Outgrowers from Agona, Gomwa, Ekumfi and other adjoining districts that have subscribed to growing pineapples are expected to be the suppliers of pineapple to the factory beyond the main supplier of pineapples to the factory.
This project was initiated by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he's taken it upon himself to come over to Ekumfi to cut the sword for the beginning of this project. You see, a person of that nature cannot lie to people because he promised Ghanaians that he's going to establish factories in each district. Why would he come here and lie to people? Everything is ready. The money has been released. In fact, the day we launched the project, I'm sure you all saw Exim Bank. The executive director himself was here and said he's going to support that project. He's going to give the funds, which is 7.7 million, to support the construction and everything, equipment and everything of this project. And the money has been released. The first tranche has been released, and the money is there. So I don't understand why people will go about saying all kinds of things. But the truth is that this project will come on.
Gifty Ohini Kunedu is the coordinator of Government One District, One Factory policy. She was a guest of honor at this year's Ekumfi Nanaben Abuachi Festival. She reveals Exim Bank has released all the monies earmarked for the project, while the Italian company that will oversee the construction of the factory is on site and getting ready for the physical project to start. The chiefs in the area at the festival encouraged the farmers to go into the cultivation of pineapple to feed the factory and also to boost their income. Joy News visited some of the outgrower farms and can report the farmers have started planting the pineapple that will feed the factory. Richard Kwejonya-Akon, Joy News, Ekumfi Nanaben.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has been lauded for a strong stance on Africa receiving aid from rich Western countries in off-the-cuff remarks he made last week. Let's listen. Let's just watch this clip.
Italian young people are in Italy. Irish young people are in Ireland. We want young Africans to stay in Africa. And how are they? And it means that we have to get away from this mindset of dependence. This mindset about what can France do for us. France will do whatever it needs to do for its own sake. And when those coincide with ours, tant mieux, as the French people say. Our concern should be with what do we need to do in this 21st century to move Africa away from being cap in hand and begging for aid, for charity, for handouts. The African continent, when you look at its resources, should be giving monies to other places. We have huge wealth on this continent, in our own country of Ghana. And we need to have a mindset that says, we can do it. Others have done it. We can also do it. And once we have that mindset, we will see it as a liberating factor for ourselves. I'm talking about our own propulsion, what we need to do to get our countries to work so that we can create the conditions that would allow our young people to forego this hazardous effort to get to Europe. They're not going there because they want to. They're going there because they don't believe they have any opportunities in our countries. So that should be our focus.
His bold remarks at a joint news conference when French President Emmanuel Macron visited Ghana last week has since gone viral. And though many in Ghana and across the continent are commending the president for his tough talk, not everyone is impressed. Local youth group Economic Fighters League is one of those. Its leader, Ernesto Yeboah, describes the president's speech as hypocritical. It argues it contradicts current policy directions as the country continues to rely on donor support.
All the things that he has said are just half of what needs to be. I mean, it lacks what needs to be done. Tell me that genetically modified foods is a way of putting Ghana beyond aid. Your leading trading partner is Europe. They have banned GMOs. And yet you are busy in Parliament seeking to pass a plant breeders bill.
It's not every country in Europe that has banned
It's
GMOs.
not all of them, but at least on the block, the European Parliament has stated its stance on genetically modified foods, and they are very clear and unequivocal about that. So when we listen to our president and we match his words against his policy action, look, our entire economy is still in the hands and mismanagement of the IMF World Bank, where they, direct us or instruct us on policies of, how do you call it, retrenchment, policies of inflation targeting, and things like that. So how do we expect to put Ghana beyond aid? Tell me one country in the whole world that the IMF have lifted from a third world to a first world. Not even one. So our president was at best engaging in wishful thinking.
Hello again, good evening to you. Welcome to Business. Prices of petroleum products at the pumps are expected to remain fairly stable up until the end of February next year. It follows government's decision to use some of the monies accrued from the stabilization fund to cushion the impact of the hikes on consumers. The development would result in government taking 7 pesos off the 10 peso that is levied on prices of petroleum products. Joy Business understands prices should have witnessed some marginal increase at the pump this week, but the move would leave prices unchanged at the pumps for a while. We get the views of some industry players to this particular decision on the marketplace.
The level of increases we are seeing, consumers needed relief, and therefore, by our interpretation, we thought that this is the appropriate time to give consumers that relief. The fund is being used for stabilization, which means that we want prices to be at the same levels for some time now to come. And therefore, this may continue up to February. when the winter effect would have driven international prices down. And so at that time, prices may come down so that we can stop the application of the fund.
So how much is this costing government?
The stabilization fund accumulates 30 million Ghana cedis a month. And so what it means is that we are financing intervention by 30 million Ghana cedis a month.
Now, Head of Finance at School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. John Gachi, is advocating clarity in some provisions under the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. In an interview with Joy Business, Dr. Gachi noted that oil companies are constrained by the provision in the Act which prevents them from using petroleum reserves as collateral to secure finance for upstream activities. He said as much as financial institutions may prefer reserve-based financing to extend credit to oil companies, they are limited by some sections of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, which limit these companies from using petroleum reserves as collateral.
What we have been emphasizing is that in the case of reserve-based lending, there is what we call reserve report. It is the reserve report that will indicate the various things that the financial institution is interested in. For example, the financial institution will want to see a reserve report semi-annually to indicate the due diligence regarding leasehold for oil and gas operation and ownership right, the time value of money issues, that is the discount factor, looking at issues relating to the type and classification of reserve, because we have different type of reserve. Basically, financial institutions are interested in proving reserve because they believe that the reserve production ratio is about 90% sure that petroleum production can take place in commercial quantity. But the issue we have been raising is that if you look at Section 5, subsection 2 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, it is very clear that petroleum reserve shall not be used for collateral. So which means that in a way we are being limited to use petroleum reserve as collateral. But again, when you go to Section 57 of the Petroleum Act, at 919, it is very clear that petroleum agreement and licenses and permit cannot be used as collateral for borrowing or for mortgaging. But there is an allowance in the Act that indicates that when permission is sought from the minister and is granted, then you can mortgage your petroleum agreement.
President Akufo-Addo has called on all stakeholders to lend their support to financial institutions operating in the country. He said the contribution of banks to the nation's economic development cannot be undermined and needs the support of all to thrive. The president made a call in a keynote address to open the newly constructed ultra-modern head office building for Zenith Bank Ghana in Accra.
The example of a dynamic entrepreneur who would build this edifice, this company, which has gone global. It's in South Africa, it's in England, it's in China, it's in several places in Africa. And that the initiative, the sense of risk-taking, entrepreneurship that Zenith Bank represents is what I believe will drive our country and our continent forward. We need many more Jim Ovias. The more, the merrier. Again, the contribution that is making towards deepening financial intermediation in our own country is extremely important. And that is why the governor of the Bank of Ghana is here, through his deputy, to lend his support to this occasion. It's a Pan-African bank. It's a bank that is operating in several places on the continent and in our ECOWAS region. These are the institutions that, with encouragement and support, are going to bring our continent together and bring us that integrated, united West Africa, Africa, that I believe is the platform for the future prosperity of our people.
Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, has indicated his outfit's readiness to review the rankings of the Ghana Club 100 for rural banks. This follows the suggestion by the Senior Minister Yaw Osafo Maafo for an amendment of the criteria for rankings on the Ghana Club 100. In an interview with Joy Business, Yofi Grant said the center will consider the suggestion and act on it accordingly. There is more in this report.
Rural banks in the country are said to be doing well on the corporate ranking despite challenges to meet the capital requirement set by the Bank of Ghana. At the recent Ghana Club 100 awards in Accra, most of them performed well on the rankings. To this end, Senior Minister Yaw Osafo Maafo suggested to the Ghana Investment Promotion Council GIPC to institute a separate awards scheme for rural banking in Ghana. Chief Executive of the Centre, Yofi Grant, assured he will work with stakeholders to look at a possible review.
It's well taken, but also remember that a lot of the companies that come to Club 100 actually volunteer their information. What we need to do is to make it attractive to the extent that every company worth its salt will want to submit or send its results to be put in the Club 100. I think that would be a good thing to do. But yes, I do agree that there seems to be overweight in rural banks. They must be making some good money.
The topmost rural bank on the 2016 ranking by the GIPC is Amemfiman Rural Bank, which appeared in the top 10. Dr. Alexander Asma is chief executive.
What works for us is that we have a very good strategy for the micro, small and medium enterprises that we serve. And we have the right people in terms of our employees. We have the right staff who understand our vision and are able to push the financial inclusion agenda that we are pushing in the rural communities. So I think that's what's working for us.
How are you going to leverage on this achievement to ensure that you attract more people into your banking space?
Thank you very much. I think GC 100 is a big club. We have been on this for quite a long time, and we have been on top of our industry also for successively. This is the 5th time that we have been on top of our industry, and for each time we have told our customers that we have the endorsement of corporate Ghana, that our industry, we are doing well, and we have the acceptance of our customers. So we're going to continue to push this. This has come to add value to what we're doing. It means that corporate Ghana recognizes what we are doing for our rural communities.
The review, when completed, will have a separate Ghana Club 100 awards for all rural banks.
And that's all in business tonight. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Good evening.
You're welcome back to Joy News Prime. Imagine a pregnant woman in labor being conveyed to the hospital on the motorbike on a terribly dusty road. That's a picture one comes across very often in the Pandai district of the northern region, where ambulances are rare and maternal mortality remains a challenge. Joy News' Jojo Kobna and his crew chanced on one such motorbike ambulance whilst on assignment in the northern region and were compelled to offer the office vehicle to give the laboring woman, I don't care, a slightly more comfortable ride to the hospital. He reports it's a story that highlights the inadequacy of health delivery in many of Ghana's districts.
Using the Salaga to Pandai District Road in the northern region of Ghana is a nightmare. Even with a good vehicle, navigating Pandai is very difficult. And as the dust settles, we are greeted with this. Idon Kerr is in pain. She can hardly balance on the motorbike. We learned despite her laboring throughout the night, the baby would just not come out. She had just started bleeding, so her husband and sister carried her on the motorbike to the hospital. At a point, we couldn't bear simply filming a woman in labor groaning on a motorbike.
Okay, then let's go, Caleb.
It takes more than 1 hour on the motorbike to the Pandai Polyclinic, the nearest health facility. But with our four-wheel vehicle, we could make it there in 45 minutes. Even in the relative comfort of our vehicle, Edon Crow still winces in pain as we move on the road riddled with potholes. Her sister clutched her family to give her support, but the liver pains were excruciating.
The hospital left or right? Okay.
Eventually, we got to the hospital. Interestingly, we were about the first vehicle in a long while to bring in a patient, as most of them arrived there on motorbikes, the most common means of transportation. We finally make it to the delivery ward, and the medical team takes over.
The baby is coming.
It has been 30 minutes already, and Edon Crow's baby is still yet to come out. Her situation begins to deteriorate. The only obstetrician there is away for medical training in the regional capital, Tamale. According to the Ghana Health Service protocol for fetal distress, as is happening in Edon Crow's case, the nurses are supposed to call for help, arrange for an ambulance, and refer her to a better equipped facility. But vehicles are rare here, and ambulances are actually a lot harder to come by. So once again, our vehicle comes to the rescue. At the Evangelical Church of Ghana Hospital, the only doctor available had just started an emergency cesarean section, so Edon Crow had to wait her turn. After observation, the midwife realized that she's too fatigued to push, so they scheduled an emergency cesarean section. Unfortunately, the hospital does not have drugs for the emergency surgery.
The insurance is owing us and they are not paying us. For the past 18 or 16 months, the insurance is not paying us. So we are doing our own papapa to run the place.
So Edon Crow's husband, Jagri, is asked to get the essential medication for surgery, also some 5 minutes drive away. The obstetrician cannot hear any fetal heartbeats. He's scared the baby may be doing badly and decides to concentrate on saving the mother.
That's great. Father, we thank you once again. We commit this case into your hand and take control. Okay, good. So
it's a boy, and everyone is excited. Edon Crow, fortunately, does not end up as one of Ghana's grim maternal mortality statistics. In 2016, out of every 1,000 live births, 378 women died. This figure could be equated to 42 9-seater trotro urban buses crashing and killing all passengers. In Northern Region alone, 136 maternal deaths were recorded in 2016. Jagri was excited. He named the boy right away.
Kwabanai Joy.
Edon Crow's story definitely brings closer home how development infrastructure, such as good roads and hospitals, can make a difference in the lives of citizens, and the implications of government's failure to reimburse hospitals for the cost of care given patients on the National Health Insurance Scheme so they could restock basic supplies. It also brings to the fore the need for governments to invest in emergency care, such as provision of ambulances, because who knows how it would have turned out in Edon Crow's case if she had to be hopping from one hospital to another on the back of a motorbike had the news crew not showed up when it did. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Well, Deputy Roads Minister Anthony Kabu has promised that Pandai Township roads will be fixed by the middle of 2018. Yet the government is concerned about the poor roads linking Pandai, Salaga and Bimbilla. He was speaking earlier on News 9.
The town roads for Pandai has been a priority for the government, and my colleague in Parliament has written officially to the ministry, and we have further instructed that measurements of those roads and the bills of quantity should be submitted to the ministry. And I think that the bills have been submitted to the ministry, and we are going to immediately work on it to get a contractor to deal with those roads, especially that of Pandai, Bimbilla, and Salaga. So it is my estimation that once these bills of quantities have come to us, an advert will quickly go out, and then we can request for some bids in respect of that. Road construction is not a day's event. It involves a lot of work. The bidding process will have to go through, and then a contractor is fixed. But it also depends on the capacity of the contractor, who can work faster to ensure that the difficulties the people are going through. So give and take, I think that by middle of 2018, these roads should have been done.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're bringing you international news next. We're still ahead in the bulletin in another health-related story. Anesthetists are typically expected to be equipped with the technical know-how to deliver on the job, but not at the district hospital at Nkwanta South in the Volta region, where apart from the technical skills, one requires some manpower as well.
Is Joy News Prime.
Now, anesthetists are typically expected to be equipped with the technical know-how to deliver on the job, but not at the district hospital at Nkwanta South in the Volta region, where apart from the technical skills, one requires manpower as well. Usually for anesthetists, as it is the case for most white-collar professionals, manpower is not a key requirement for one to deliver on the job. This is, however, not the case there in this hospital, where the equipment used to supply oxygen to patients undergoing surgery is an old manually operated machine. The physician assistant who operates it explains using the machine becomes a balancing act between pumping the oxygen and monitoring the patient, an exercise that could go on in some instances for hours. Seth Kwame Boateng has more.
The Nkwanta South District Hospital serves about 320 communities in its catchment area, with some patients also coming in from the neighboring Nkwanta North District. As a district hospital, it is to that area what the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is to those in Accra, except the Nkwanta South Health Facility itself needs critical attention, especially in its main theatre. I am ushered into the main theatre where lives of patients are saved on a daily basis. Acting Medical Superintendent Dr. Kweku Apieje highlights the problem here.
The machine that we have here has no ventilator. So when you are doing complicated cases, the anesthetist has to manually bag the machine throughout the entire operation. And even when you are extubating, so in case there's any problem, the person cannot leave bagging to come and assist. And looking at the number of cases that we do, even related to only maternal cases, since the beginning of the month, we've done 15 cesarean sessions, all due to referrals. And we don't want to lose any patient because of the machine.
At least 3 surgeries are conducted every day in this hospital, and on a busy day, about 6. If it is a complicated surgery, it could take doctors several hours to finish. That's according to the acting medical superintendent, Dr. Kweku Apieje.
2 days ago, we spent 4 hours.
And he had to be pumping for 4 hours.
He needs to do it.
It might be tiring then.
He's always tired. Soon, I'm sure it would affect the state of health.
It means that for the 4 hours, the anesthetic, who is in this case Daniel Zakaria Mbagati, has to manually supply oxygen into the blood of the patient under the knife. He explains it is quite a delicate chore, as any slight error could be fatal or leave the patient perpetually brain damaged.
The rate at which I press or I ventilate may be high or low, and this can have effect on the patient. And it can have effect on the patient because my monitor doesn't have a lot of parameters that can detect to tell me that the oxygen concentration
is too much or too low.
So that is the risk at which I'm having. Okay. So even though my patient may wake up from here, but in future he may have any problem.
It means a patient could come in with one problem and leave worse off.
The modern anesthesia machine, we call it workstation. Workstation because it has a lot of components that help the anesthetist to monitor the patient for a good outcome. And what it has is that it has a patient monitor, which has a lot of variables on it that can monitor patients. This is the BP, the pulse, the oxygen saturation, the ECG, that is the electrocardiogram. It can even monitor the central venous pressure, the modern ones. But in order for this one, the machine wasn't having it. So we had to go to market to buy another one and put on it, which cannot do much, but that we need to do for our patient. So this is what we have.
Beyond the equipment challenge, which thankfully has not resulted in any fatalities yet, the hospital has only 2 anesthetists and could do with a few more.
My institution has been mandated to train anesthetists as well. But because of this machine, I have taken a strong stance that I won't allow anybody to come for training. They need to be trained with the modern equipment. Because they are not used to, in school, they are not used to this one. So somebody can just do something wrong and I might lose a patient.
A relatively more modern replacement of the ventilator along with the entire workstation could cost about 150,000 cedis. Yes, it's certainly not cheap. It's however not more expensive than the V8 zooming through traffic in Accra and elsewhere without regard to other motorists. But what's a V8 when lives are at stake? Seth Kwame Boateng for Joy News.
Now, for one to travel from one side of the district to its capital, you need to pass through 4 districts. Sadly, the access routes linking these communities to the district capital are in a deplorable state. That is the plight of residents of Wa East, the Wa East district, in their quest to reach their capital, Funti. On Joy News Agenda today, Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam takes a look at the roads in the Wa East and reports the construction of bridges over 2 districts, rivers in the district, would facilitate movement and training activities between the people and their neighbors.
Thank you for everyone present. Presidents of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs have never minced words on the deplorable nature of roads in the region anytime a top government official visits. The most recent meeting was during the 3-day official visit of President Akufo-Addo to the Upper West region last October. Being the youngest region in the country, the Upper West region has got some of the worst roads in the country.
The Upper West region, Your Excellency, has the least tarred road network in the country. Besides, we are yet to see the completion of Lora, Nandom, Hamley Trunk Road, as well as the Wa Hen to Munavrongo Road. We also want to see some improvement in the roads linking the district capitals to Wa, the regional capital.
3 districts in the Upper West region, namely Sisala West, Sisala East, and the Wa East district, are engaged in a stiff competition over the accolade of the food basket in the region. The cruel reality, however, is that the 3 districts are also competing for the worst feeder roads in the region. It is the region with the least bituminous surface in the country, meaning a greater percentage of its roads is either paved or graveled. Fonsi, capital of the Wa East district, is always cut off from the rest of the district and region during the rainy season. Drivers plying the route said they go through hell before they reach their destination. 58-year-old Abbas Sedu is a driver with Metro Mass Transit Limited. He drives every other day from Wa to Kundugu.
Oh, the road there is a rough road, but how the rain has stopped me. We are enjoying it small, but when rain falls, you can go. Sometimes you reach some place, then when the bridges are full up, unless you stay there more than 6 hours before you can go, from morning to evening before the water will pass. The road needs proper gravel, and the bridge where they made, they haven't yet filled them, so the water they pass the road top. When it's during the harvesting time like that, our buses should get breakdown due to heavy load, the nature of the road.
Drivers plying the Wafonsi Kundugu Road during the dry season have less worries than in the rainy season. Some of the rivers dried up, enabling the drivers to have quick access to outlandish communities. Civil servants and other public workers sometimes refuse posting to the district due to the deplorable nature of the roads. Felicia Sumela is 33 years of age and is a businesswoman. She travels every week to the Wa market to buy her products for sale at the Fonsi market.
So many people, when they come here, they don't even want to come back again, especially rainy season. It's headache. You cannot travel from here to Wa. So many problems about this road. You bear witness to me, on your way here, you saw how the road is. If Nana really wants to be in power, he should help us to maintain our roads for us. That's the only thing that will maintain him in power to come next election.
Inusa Halitu is a resident of Wa, but hails from Kundugu, which is about 28 kilometers away from Fonsi, the district capital. He painted a mental picture of the road network in the district.
Wa East is having a peculiar problem, most especially our road network from Wa Fien to Kundugu Somisi. And last year they were to construct the road up to Fumbisi. But there are some rivers there that they are yet to construct. And there's another major road from Busa through Bulenge, Kulung, and there's a river there. If that bridge has been bridged, it will link the whole of Wa East, and moving from any part of the district to the district capital will be easy.
The Kulung and Ambalara rivers have been on the drawing board of almost all governments that rule this country since independence, but their construction have never seen the light of the day. For the people of Bulenge and other adjoining communities, the construction of these bridges will not only link them to the district capital, but reduce drastically the traveling time from Wa to either the Upper East or Northern regions. Bajin Droga Pobia is the immediate past regional chairman of the Upper West Regional Branch of the Ghana Journalists Association and hails from Yala No. 1 in the district. He described the district as a state within Ghana.
Feeder roads, don't talk about feeder roads in Wa East. The feeder roads are not there, and the few that are there are very bad. So making traveling very, very difficult. Health-wise, people have to depend on donkey cars and those and this Nyama track cycles to transport sick people from that area to Wa Hospital. The whole upper Wa East, the eastern corridor of the district or the region, is not developed. It's not developed. I don't know if left to me, I'll even describe it as a state within the Ghana. Because it's neglected. That place, you don't have any hospital. It also makes the administrative operations of the administration there very difficult, the assembly. Because part of them are in Wa side. The other side too is in Sisala side. And the two rivers have divided them. So during the rainy season, the people over there are cut off. Those also in the Wa area are also cut off, because if they want to go to assembly meeting, they have to come to Wa, take car from Wa, pass Isa. No, they will even first pass Nodoli district. Then they will go to Dafiama Buse Isa district. Then they will even link to Sisale East before they get to Wa East capital, Fonsi. You see, it doesn't make the administrative work there smoothly.
Mr. Pobia appealed to the government to construct the Ambalara and Kulun rivers to boost economic activities in the area.
It will be their happiness if one day they get up to hear that Kulun River and Ambalara River are going to be bridged, because that will facilitate trade businesses between the three regions. Because from Yala to Kundugu, when you pass Kundugu and you move small, you are in West Mamprosi. and that road links through Passenkpe to Walwale to Tamale. The other side too, you go to Fimbisi, Wiaga, Sendema, Navarongwa, and you are in Bolga. It's the shortest route, but for these two rivers, we can't do anything. And that the district is so endowed with so many things, as I said. You have a lot of big rocks there that could be used for quarry businesses.
Residents in the Wa East district, like their counterparts in the other 10 districts in the region, believe that if roads in their districts are worked on, it will in a long way go on to solve more than half of the challenges they are grappling with in the health sector. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Fonsi.
A disaster looms at the Dansi Agrava in the Adansi South district of the Ashanti region. School children study in dilapidated structure. According to the headmaster Frederick Jikunu, who spoke to Adum News' Afredamu during the 20th anniversary of the school, successive governments over the years have neglected the community, calling for urgent support.
A special day to aggravate DA Basic and the community as a whole. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary simply because the school assault got 20 years now. So we have a lot of problems or challenges that we are facing in the school. One is our school building. We don't have any good structure for the school. From class 2 up to the JHS 3, none of these classes is having a proper classroom. So we are appealing to the government so that he will come and establish or put up a good or comfortable classroom for the people in such a way that things will be well with the people. And the structure that we are seeing now, it has a negative effect on the side of the people. Such is that whenever it is going to rain, we need to close the people when it is not yet time. So for that, it has gone a long way to affect the study of the people. So government, we are appealing to you and the district assembly as well. Come to our aid so that things will be in a better way.
Some of the school children also spoke of their challenges with Adum News.
We need school. Our school building is not good. Even when it is raining, we can't sit here. When it is raining, the air takes some waters and our boots wet. So we pleaded the government to build our school for us.
We don't have building. Always, if it is raining, it beats us. And if it's not time to close, we just even close. On our blackboard, chalkboards, we don't have chalkboards to write on it. Even textbooks, that's problems are going to be facing.
The problem facing our school, we don't have, if you look at our school building, we don't have building, even though when it is raining, we go home. When it is raining, we go home. When it is not closing time, even though we don't have a urinal or toilet, we beg the DC and the NP and the government to help us.
How you say here? You see, a pattern yet say class 6 and class 5. Since so talk, I just say near many free and I send your coffee. Yes, lab and some lamb boy.
Municipal Chief Executive Fasokori Mampong has dismissed calls for the closure of Kumasi Academy following the death of 3 students and admission of several others in the hospital. Alidu Saidi says the students will stay on campus whilst education, health and security authorities investigate the cause of the deaths. The assurance comes as health authorities await reports on blood samples of the deceased sent to the Noguchi Memorial Health Center. Ohiminteria has more.
3 out of 17 students who were admitted at Komfanochi and university hospitals died over the weekend. 6 have been treated and discharged, and 8 are still responding to treatment. It brings to 6 the number of students who have died in the school in the last 7 months. A similar situation earlier in March caused a near pandemonium when parents rushed to the school to take their wards home. Alhaji Alidu spoke to Ensure News after a closed-door meeting with school authorities and health officials. He says a permanent physician assistant has been posted to the school for early detection of any abnormal health condition in the interim. Authorities are also taking steps to facilitate a proposed health screening for students.
We had about 17 reported cases. 3 died, 14. 6 were discharged freely. Others are on admission, but they are responding to treatment. So as it is now, it's under control, if I may put it that way. A whole lot of thoughts coming from all angles. Others say scientific, others also say we should also look at other sources also. But we are just trying so hard to establish what has been the cause and how we can also deal with it. We've told them not to dismiss anybody, because once you get them dismissed, they will go home, nobody knows who will carry to the house. It will also cause an outbreak. It is not about Kumasi Academy, it's about Ghana. It is about Asokore-Mampo municipality in general. So if you dismiss them today because they are in the school, nobody knows who will carry what at home, and that will also cause us problems.
Alhaji Alidu appealed to students, teachers and parents to remain calm while they await the Noguchi report.
Question to yourself about why meningitis. If it is, why not form 3s and 2s, but 1? Then it opens a new page and a new chapter for questioning.
The occultic chapter that will lead you to,
which is a possibility. Of course, as I'm speaking with you, the intelligence agencies are also on the ground. They've also taken up the matter. They are looking at it from that angle. As they are doing this, pastors will also be there to do this. We also fall on our imams to also do this.
Meanwhile, Alhaji Alidu has condemned an attack on reporter of Insura FM by some teachers of Kumaka. Auku Malik was manhandled and had his recorder seized in the ensuing attack by the teachers.
On behalf of the school, on behalf of the assembly and myself and the government, to apologize to the multimedia for such a thing. Sometimes you expect the unexpected, and we never had it in mind that such a thing will happen. So I condemn it and also apologize sincerely.
Senior Minister Yasafu Mafu has described as inappropriate the seeming endorsement by President Akufo-Addo of the executive chairman of the Jospong Group of Companies, Joseph Sian Ejepong. The senior minister, who was speaking at the launch of the Anti-Corruption Week, assured government has not relented in its quest to deal with corrupt appointees in the erstwhile John Mahama administration. The police have commenced investigations into the alleged rape and assault by a Lebanese national of his house help at Airport Hills here in Accra, but described as untrue reports that there were attempts to arrange financial compensation for the victim to settle the matter. The Joy News crew on assignment in the Northern Region's Pandai district found itself having to use the office vehicle as an ambulance for a woman in labor, in a story that highlights the inadequacy of healthcare in many of Ghana's districts.